Welcome to Dominate Your Day. I'm so excited to finally have you two here. I love your stories and I love the work you're doing. This is airing in November, which we're talking about giving back. And we know through the well-being that when we're giving back and doing something in our community, it helps our well-being a lot. So I want to talk about that as our theme today as we get into who you guys are, who the Men of Nehemiah is, and how you got involved. So let's start with you, Rand. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Rand Carlson, and I am the biblical director at the Men of Nehemiah. I'm also the executive director of Communities, which is our sober living branch. I came through the program back in 2017, and it completely changed my life. I struggled with addiction for about 15 years, and my family brought me to the ministry, and I didn't really know what to expect. And somewhere along the line, I fell in love with the process, and I graduated the program, and then I came on staff, and I've been working there ever since.
That's awesome. Okay, Melinda, tell us your role right now at the Men of Nehemiah.
Yes, I am the executive director, and I started 2019. I volunteered about 5 years before that, just as a volunteer.
Wow.
And I've had several roles since I've been there, but my current role is executive director.
So why don't you, Rand, explain to the audience what Men of Nehemiah is? So there are people all over the world listening to this, and we want to explain to them what this unique ministry is that you all serve.
Sure. So the Men of Nehemiah is a 9-month residential treatment center. It's a faith-based discipleship ministry. And so we serve men who battle with substance abuse, cycles of homelessness, incarceration, people who have pretty much hit rock bottom. And, the ministry started in the 90s in New Orleans. And actually the man who started it for his son, who is our founder, Louis Harrell. And he took a few things that he knew best. He was a colonel in the military, and he was a pastor. So he combined the two. And so that's kind of what we do. We're military structured to instill discipline back into the man. We're faith-based, so all Bible-centered discipleship, so we can introduce a man to a loving relationship with Christ, a personal relationship with Christ. And we have a clinical department. And so all three of those are the three legs of our stool. They all work together to give guys like me another chance at life.
Wow. Melinda, so talk about the uniqueness of this ministry and why you got involved.
The ministry is so unique. There's many treatment centers across the country and in Dallas. Our approach of treating the whole man, his body, his mind, his soul, we have a big mental health component to our ministry. I would say 90% of our men struggle with mental health. So we are able to address that. We are able to introduce, as Rand said, a man to a relationship with Christ. Many of our men come in with spiritual wounds. They don't know that God loves them. They don't feel that they're worthy of God's love. Often they've only been taught of a God that's punishing and disappointed in them, and they have never had the message that they are created in His image and that they are worthy of all the love that they deserve. And so that makes us unique. And then, of course, the military. The discipline is so important in a man's life. Yeah. I've learned by working and being around addiction for so many years. Their lives often are chaos when they come to us. They've lost jobs, cars, families, pretty much everything. Run through every resource by the time they get to the Men of Nehemiah. Wow. And the military teaches them from the moment they wake up, 4:45 in the morning, they get up, they make their beds, they have room inspection, they start their day with devotion, they start their day with exercise. So it's learning to add these healthy life skills back into their routines that they've lost. And so that makes us unique. And then with the clinical, 13 hours a week of clinical counseling they get, each man does.
I was at your recent groundbreaking and loved the story I think that Luke shared about his story of recovery. And he had tried other recovery centers. And I love the quote, and it stayed with me. And I've quoted it quite a bit that he used that day. With discipline doesn't care how you feel. And when you mention the military and the discipline that goes on in this whole ministry of recovery and how you see change in these men. And I think, Rand, you're a great example of that. You shared that you came, your family dropped you off, and you're like, what is this?
Yeah.
Where am I? And how long ago was that?
That was 8 years ago. So actually, when I first started, when my addiction got really bad, they brought me once before.
Oh, really?
And I made it about 3 days. Because
Really?
It was really, I wasn't ready. It wasn't my time yet.
Yeah.
And so, I had some more pain to get. I had about 3 more years in my journey before I came back the second time. And when I got there, I kind of already knew what to expect, but this time I was so desperate, I was willing to do anything. And yeah, the military portion of it, I think when I first came, my first day, I mean, I was beat up really bad from addiction. My foot wouldn't fit in my shoe. I was barefoot basically when I walked through the doors. And they still made me PT and drill and do push-ups, but
Wow.
I realized that it was all in love, and that was the discipline I needed. I think addicts, we're so used to operating on how we feel. So if I feel bad, I go use. If I feel good, I go use. If something happens, I quit my job and then I go use. And so the discipline, it's kind of back to what Luke was saying, like discipline doesn't care how you feel. You show up every day regardless of how you feel. And I think that's what they teach us in recovery. That's such a huge part of it, is regardless of how I'm feeling, I still show up and do what I need to do.
And that's what makes this ministry so unique. And we've talked about that. This is the only addiction recovery center with the biblical, the clinical, and the military, which is huge. And I want to make that point because the difference you guys are making in these men is incredible, which also affects the community, right? And it affects families. Another tear-jerking moment for me was when I went to one of your events and the daughters of these dads spoke about the change they've seen in their dads since they've gone through recovery. Yes. And that was like, oh, take my heart and put it on a plate, and what can I do? So, Melinda, we've heard Rand's story about coming, living in his car. It was heroin, I guess, you were on. Your family tried once, and then you came back, and you're desperate, and you made it through. Melinda, what attracted you to Men of Nehemiah, and how did you get involved?
I have been surrounded by alcoholism my entire life. My dad's an alcoholic. I would say my brother's an alcoholic. It hits every family.
Yes.
Truly, addiction of some kind is in every family.
That's right.
I have always had a heart to serve. In my early 20s, I served at the Ronald McDonald House, Child Protective Services. God has always given me the heart to serve others. I always had a particular interest in serving children that had been abused. I worked at CPS for a long time after hours,
and know that.
I did. Yes.
Wow.
And as I went through my life raising kids, I would do just a little bit of volunteer work the best I could. I'm a mother of 7.
Which is just,
yes,
blows me away.
And so my time was limited. And so I was particular about what I would do with my extra time. I had the fortunate experience of meeting Lewis, our founder, about 13 years ago. At an event. I spoke to him, heard him speak for about 5 minutes, and my heart skipped a beat. I knew God was telling me something about his testimony. And at the time, My husband had struggled with addiction. As I said, my father struggles with addiction. I knew God was leading me there, and He set it up for me so well. We have to say yes,
Yes.
and we have to be willing. But God sets it up for all of us. My next door neighbor happened to be involved with the Men of Nehemiah.
Oh, okay.
And I had no idea. And I was telling my neighbor that I had met this man that day. And she said, well, we know him. We go down there to worship on Sunday mornings, and my husband goes on Tuesdays. And so I asked her if he would invite Mike, my husband, and he did. And we have been going ever since. I don't think we've missed a Tuesday in 13 years.
Wow.
Yes. So I felt very called to the ministry. And in particular, as the years have gone by, my greatest joy is to see a man reunited with his kids. And so being the daughter of an absent father, an alcoholic, there's just nothing greater. The testimonies that you were referring to at our gospel dinner this last April, seeing those kids have their dad back in their life, that's not something I ever experienced.
Wow.
And there is just no greater joy for me. And plus, I love all the men. I love them like they're part of my family. I try to get to know every one of them. I try to know their names, their stories, where they're from. And, you know, when I first started serving down there, I asked myself, what do I have to bring to these men? You know, it's a little odd, you might say, to find a North Dallas woman at the Men of Nehemiah. You know, when I first started down there, it was men only. There were very few women on staff and really no women volunteers. But I learned quickly I can show these men the love of Christ and show them they're valuable and loved.
We went down to your Tuesday night worship service a couple months, well, I guess it was about a month ago, and you see the love in the room, you see the caring, and they adore you. I think one of the guys stood up and he goes, Melinda just looked at me in the eye and said, just work the program.
Oh yeah.
And I thought, wow, they're minding her.
She got some thick skin over the years. So.
But I think it's that moment when you felt that the Lord was calling you there, and you said, "Okay, this was not in the plan." When I met you, you were in corporate. You were running the executive office for Herb and Colleen at Southwest Airlines. You were, and having kids and doing all that and serving your community, and then all of a sudden, the next time, 20 years later, I see you serving in this amazing ministry, and I'm like, wow, she has found her authentic self.
Yes.
Here.
And what's really amazing about all of that is I can see how God has used every experience I've had. My childhood, being a mom. I love these kids, and these men, I treat them like my kids. I want the same thing for them that I want for my kids.
Yes.
And that's why I am tough on them. I really am. But I do it in love, and I speak to them. They know that I care about them. And
well, speaking about that, I've watched you mentor Rand.
Yeah.
What did you see in Rand back then that he didn't see in himself, right?
Yeah.
You had graduated and you started helping. Tell us a little bit about that, both of you.
Okay. That's an easy for me.
Okay.
I saw in Rand his humility, his curiosity, his willingness to grow and learn and try new things. I needed him as much as he needed me.
Aww.
And it still is today. It's very mutual. It's not, boss, and we have a very mutual relationship in the workplace and outside. you talk about our work best friends.
Yes.
He's my work best friend.
I love that.
We're an unlikely pair, but I mean, he and I have pulled people out of drug houses.
Oh,
We
yeah.
have gone, 911 calls together. We've
Oh, wow.
found sober living houses together. We picked men up off the street together.
Wow.
He is my partner, and you asked me what I saw in him. Again, it was just a God connection. It had to be. I mean, you can't think of a more unlikely pair. And we just hit it off from the moment we shared an office. We don't have
Yeah.
a lot of extra office space. So probably
Right.
for the first 4 years of my being on staff, he and I shared an office. We learned together. We learned to
Yeah.
do social media together. He was the best at it. I had a couple of ideas, but he would teach me so much about the disease of addiction.
Huh.
And I took him everywhere. If I was invited to speak or invited to go to an organization in the community, really my first role was community outreach. And so we would go to different churches. We would go to different business meetings and present about the Men of Nehemiah. And I didn't go anywhere without Rand. I mean,
Wow.
we were just a partner, and I
That's
could get us
amazing.
into these places. And his testimony is what people really want to hear because it is such an example of what Christ can do in someone's life.
And Rand, I have had the pleasure of working with you over the last couple of years, working with your Clifton Strengths. We're going to talk about those in a minute. And one of the things that I remember you telling me that, wow, I can't believe I'm in this leadership role. And I've never been in a leadership role before, and they put me here, and they believe in me. And so what were you thinking after you graduated and you were starting to serve? Did you have any idea this was the role that God had planned for you?
I did not. No. When I graduated, I started as a behavioral health tech, and I was cool with that. I was just I was happy to not be working in a warehouse.
Yeah.
Like I was happy to not be working at a dive bar.
Yeah.
That's my work experience.
Mm-hmm.
For all of my adult life, I was, either working in the back of the house of a bar and grill, or working 12-hour shift, 14-hour shift at a, automobile plant, and so just to have this opportunity to work in ministry was amazing. And then I met Melinda, and she started pouring into my life, and she was green to the addiction world.
Yeah.
So there were some moments where I had to be like, Melinda, you can't do that.
That's great.
So like she said, I was teaching her about addiction. She was teaching me about leadership, and I'm so grateful for Melinda because she didn't have to do it. I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for her mentorship, for sure.
And I think that's what's key here, too, is, Melinda, you recognized what Rand had, but you also got him a mentor. You got me as a coach. You're now in a leadership
She invested
course.
in me.
She invested in
Yes.
you and believes in you. And tell me the percentages of people working now at the ministry that came as a client just like Rand. I mean, there's quite a few,
Over
right?
a third of
A
our
third.
staff.
That's amazing.
Yeah, Rand was one of the first. But the model is something, we learned at Southwest Airlines.
Yes.
If you can promote from within, as you
Yeah.
know, that is always the greatest success story. If you can promote somebody that's worked their way up. So Rand has so much... when he's walked in the he's walked in the shoes
Yeah.
of where the man is today. And so he can look at that man in the eye and say, I've sat in that chair. I know exactly how you feel. I know exactly what you're going through. You can't hire that. You can't go out and find that. And so that, I recognized that early. I had been taught that at Southwest Airlines. But taking him with me and showing these men, here's a story of what God can do in your life.
Exactly.
And letting them see he's hope walking around
Mm-hmm.
the office. And as I said, now we have a third of them.
Mm.
And they're hope. They're what every man that comes through our doors, that's what they want. That's why they're there. They're like, I want what he has.
And what's the recovery rate for you guys right now?
If our men complete the 9 months and go on to sober living, we're able to track them for a good 2 years, a little beyond that with a lot of them, but it's up in the 80 percentile, which is higher than any place in the nation.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it really is. We put so many support services in place for them, mentors, sponsors, discipleship, our staff,
12 steps.
12 steps, every support group, we teach them finances, GED, try to prepare them for their life after. And we still, as soon as they graduate, it's not over. It's really just beginning. So we walk with them as long as they'll let us.
It's amazing. And I loved seeing when y'all came to Northwest about 6 weeks ago and the men performed. Rand, you always lead the singing and you lead and you have a great rap. You can rap. I was like, wow, is that Rand? I've been working with you for a while and I was like, wow. But when I look at your strengths, it's like I see the responsibility come out. I see the empathy come out. And I see you're a learner. You always want to learn. And so it's like, when you learned your Clifton strengths, when we started working on those, what was the biggest thing that was an aha for you, having come out of recovery now in this leadership role? What has helped you with those strengths as you've moved forward? And some people talk about it gives them more energy or helps with their confidence. What kind of spoke to you as you were starting to learn your strengths?
Yeah, for me, it was understanding how God has wired me.
Yeah.
And leaning into that instead of trying to find something that's not necessarily a strength and wanting that thing, leaning into the uniqueness of who I am. And so, my top strength is competition.
Yeah.
And it was just like this aha moment because I've always had, no matter what I was doing, I always had someone that I was trying to aspire to. One of the things we worked together with was having a checklist, like a daily checklist to make sure that you're meeting all your marks, and like that really energizes me. Like having something I need to do, getting it done, and so I see how that's how God has wired me. Another thing is empathy. That's my third strength. Sometimes we can look at that as a weakness, but it really is what allows me to sit across from a man and know where he is and really relate to where that man is in his journey and then pour into his life.
Because you feel.
Yeah.
You feel the room,
Yeah.
right? That's why I'm always wanting somebody that has high empathy with me, like you're
Me
saying,
too.
because you know that feel, and you're serving who you once were.
Yeah.
But another highlight for me, Rand, was when Melinda, when you sent me the video of him speaking last Christmas at the church, and you were doing several services, and you were speaking, and one of the things you and I had talked about is that you loved speaking.
Yes.
And
because it terrifies me.
yes.
I love when I'm done speaking and it
Yeah.
was
It was
and
good.
it went good. Yeah, it went
But you were
well.
like, that was really good.
Yeah.
And so we talked about that a lot and how your competition can help you and how your other strengths can really help you. Your discipline. You were always ready for a call each week and you had things you wanted to work on. And really having that accountability, I think, is good for you. And then having Melinda pour into you with all the different things. But watching that video, I got teary-eyed again. I was like, wow, Rand is really a good speaker.
Thank you.
And, yeah, what do you think about that,
Well,
Melinda?
I was going to add, his strengths help me so much, which
Yes.
I know is the idea.
Yes.
I never understood all this until you introduced Clifton's strengths to me. They have helped me. They've changed me
Yeah.
as a human being. I will be honest and tell you, I thought everybody should work like I work.
Yeah.
And I did not understand. I thought it was a choice, like everybody should be grinding this hard and thinking the way I think. And it was really, I'm embarrassed about it now, to be
Well,
honest.
you didn't know.
I did
most
not
people
know.
Don't. Most people don't.
I did not know.
Most people don't know
But
that.
now I'm able to see he has so many gifts. And those younger days when he was starting out, all of that, his competition, his responsibility, his curiosity and his learner, those were the things that attracted me to him. That I was looking at him going, God has brought him into my life to complete me, what I need to be an effective leader. And I don't have those things. I don't have competition. I don't have empathy. I have other compassion and passion, but I'm not as empathetic as Rand, and I need him to stop me sometimes and say, "Let's look at this again," because I can move too fast and I can miss a place where I need to be empathetic, and he's so helpful to me there.
And what was neat when we did not only each of your unique strengths, found your strengths and worked with you individually, but also as a team and found out how high you guys are in executing your whole team.
Yes.
So like you said, being able to help each other slow down when we're going too fast and not thinking strategically, but just moving. And y'all have been an amazing growth over the last 3 years.
We really have.
It's been amazing to watch, but being able to let your strengths guide you through that time and see who are we going to lean on to help us with this instead of like, I don't have that. And for you, Rand, it was learning to say, I don't have that, and it's okay that I don't have that. Your turning the dial of your competition down,
Yes.
turning your learner up, turning your empathy up, and that's what it is. It's moving those dials. For you, Melinda, it's been great watching your maximizer. You want these guys to be the best. You want the best for Rand, and watching that, taking things from good to great every day. So tell me your favorite story, and I know I didn't prepare you for this question. What is your favorite story of recovery? You all might have the same one or different ones of men. I've heard so many testimonies and events, but I want our audience to hear what you all have seen in transformation. When you've seen somebody go through the program and then be a part of the program and then go serve and then come back and speak, is there any story that's coming to you, that's coming up for you that you want to share?
Yes, I've got 100 stories.
I bet you do. Rand is one of them.
Yes, Rand is definitely one
Yeah.
of them. We see them daily.
So neat.
But one of my absolute favorites, because I'm so able to see how God orchestrates our lives and how he takes such good care of us. And we're so able to trust and depend on him that he is going to take care of every detail. I mentioned it a little bit earlier. My next door neighbor is who took us to the Men of Nehemiah, Mike and I. They did not know when they were involved there that their son would struggle with addiction. He was about 10 years old when we moved in.
Wow.
And it's only could God do this. Only could God orchestrate this story. So he goes through high school, through college, begins to struggle using drugs, drinking, smoking weed, then gets into heavier drugs as the cycle does. Married, had a child, ends up on heroin. His wife divorces him, and he went to 13 rehabs before he came to the Men.
13?
Yes, before he came to the Men of Nehemiah.
Wow.
And ended up, after 2 years of intense therapy and learning who he was as a human being and who God created him to be, he divorced, his wife divorced him. He's now remarried.
To the same woman.
To the same woman, and now they have 2 more beautiful children.
Wow.
And just getting to watch that, that was in my own backyard, truly.
Wow.
And then on the flip side of that, the men that come to us that would never have the ability to receive the services that they get at Men of Nehemiah. The minute they walk in the door, within 24 hours, they get a medical evaluation. They get a psych evaluation. Addiction is covering. Drugs and alcohol are a solution for something. It's not the root cause of their problem.
Right.
And as I said earlier, the mental health, 90% of them are on mental health medication. They don't have access to that. The majority of our men have never been to a psychologist, a psychiatrist,
Wow.
a medical doctor. We have men that come in that hadn't been to a doctor in 20 years. They've never
Wow.
been to a dentist. And their bodies are ravaged from addiction. And so watching these men and God restore their physical, their mental, and then their hearts, knowing that they are a child of God and learning who God is and learning the true God, that He loves them and they're worthy. And
It's amazing.
Yes.
This
And we see that daily.
And so, and I want to hear your story too, but I want the audience to think about what's in your next door, who's your next door neighbor, and if you're not serving right now, where is your passion? And we tend to serve the person we once were, like you telling your story about your father, and this struck a chord with you. For you, Rand, it's serving because this is who you were, and you're able to relate to these men and help them. So do you have a story you want to share since you've been working with Men of Nehemiah that speaks?
There's so many. It's hard to pick one.
It's hard to pick one.
I think of, one of the greatest things is that we hire from within. We hire, graduates, and to see the impact that they have on the community. It's exactly what she said. They look at us not because we're up here, but because we're right here with them. And we say, hey, we're just like you. We're just a little further ahead in the process, but recovery is possible. Some of these guys could never even imagine that a life without some kind of substance is even possible, and that you can actually be happy about it.
Wow.
But I think the story that comes to mind is one of my coworkers who just recently came on staff. He came from the bottom. My childhood, I had a good family. Some of these guys that come in have nothing. And, because of his circumstances, he got into drugs and selling methamphetamine, and he ended up going to prison, and he joined a racist prison gang for survival. And he was just so bitter and so angry. And by the time he came to our ministry, he was just worn out. He was just worn out. He was desperate, but he was still so, so angry. And I got to watch him in his process just surrender and start giving all that stuff up. I had the privilege of baptizing him.
Wow.
He gave his life to the Lord, and he just really gave himself over to serving. And so this guy who was in a racist prison gang gives his life to the Lord, and then he ends up going to work for a black church. And does amazing there, and he works there for 2 years, and he's running their Bible studies and their fellowship groups.
Wow.
And then when the 2-year mark came, we had an opening, and he came to work for us. And it's just so cool to see his journey, and he's still growing and he's still learning, but just to see that just that low point in his life and everything before that, and then him getting clean and sober and just thriving now is so good to see.
So that's such a great story.
I was going to add, I think Randall helped me with this. I've learned this since I've been at the Men of Nehemiah from Lewis. He teaches all of us that whatever our story is, that is what God wants us to use for others. It's so simple. And it doesn't matter if you've had a child with special needs, if you've had trouble having children, if you, whatever your story is what we use to help someone else. And when we hear in our Christian world, that God redeems all that he allows, I think Jim Dennison is where I
Yes.
heard that. And that can be a little bit confusing. And I've learned now, I understand that. So whatever our path has been, whatever our hardships have been, we've all had them. That's the very thing that God equips us to use to serve his kingdom. And I have so many acquaintances and friends that think, I'm lucky that I found this, and I am very grateful. But not realizing they all have a story, and everybody has something they can use for God's kingdom that he has equipped them with. You don't have to be an expert in anything but your own life experience. And that's enough.
Yeah.
And so we're all capable of serving.
I'm glad you brought that up because I think as we talked about earlier, the well-being piece is so important. We talk about well-being with you guys, and we've talked about it quite a bit, and using your strengths to help you with your well-being, especially when you're serving in this capacity. And you could have some really hard days when you have to go get somebody off the street, or you have to let somebody go because they didn't follow the program, and I know that's probably hard with your empathy sometimes, Rand, and Melinda's going to be there to say, nope, gone. You know.
We did that this morning,
actually,
before
on our
we
way
got
here.
here.
Yeah, but see how neat that you all know that about each other. It's like strengths give you that x-ray on here's who we are and here's our uniqueness. I love the fact, Melinda, that you have input and you love to research and read. And the 3 years I've been working with you guys, I love how when y'all need something, you just go figure it out. You don't think about, well, we don't have that. We don't know how to do that. You just figure it out.
We do.
And it's that attitude of, and bringing that all together. So we've got just a few minutes left, but I had you both take your authentic imprint assessment. And the authentic imprint is where your strengths plus your core values, which we talk about core values a lot, plus your personal mission statement times your emotional recognition equals your authentic imprint. And both of you have areas that you really excel in there. For you, Melinda, it was all the values alignment and the belief and being really strong there and your mission connection. And I think as people think about where they want to serve, thinking about these areas, what strengths do you have? What are your core values? And then what is your personal mission statement? We've been working on that a lot. I know, Rand, you've been working on yours for a while. As you did this assessment, and it's online at danawilliamsco.com, was there anything that you rated really high in mission connection? What about your mission statement is connecting you to this mission, or that you see, or your core values that's helping you be aligned every day?
Well, I think in our work together, my mission statement is I help men live transformed, meaningful lives. And that aligns perfectly with what we do at Men of Nehemiah. And back to what Melinda was talking about, God used those 15 years of addiction, and now that's my ministry. That's my purpose. Even outside of Men of Nehemiah. I get calls all the time from people who are battling with addiction or family members that are battling with addiction. And it's really cool that God allows me to be the one that they call to talk through it. And I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah. And then for you, Melinda, how have you seen, like with your mission connection and your values?
One thing I wanted to add for people that are curious about serving.
Yes.
And so you mentioned a moment ago about how difficult our days can be and hard our days can be. One thing that is so amazing to me, again, how God so cares for us. We work in the most dangerous, poorest zip code in Dallas.
You do.
Okay. It's not hard. I am so energized and so full of gratitude and feel so privileged to be doing what I'm doing. And so when you're doing what God calls you and equips you for, you have abundant energy.
Absolutely.
And as I said, Rand and I, we could go pull someone out of a drug house.
I've
And
seen her do it.
that's
My seatbelt was still
I w-
on. She was
I
already
want a
in there. I said,
video of
"Where's
that."
she going?"
you know,
oh my gosh.
it's not hard. God gives us what we need to do that kind of work wherever you are. You know, if you're working at a children's hospital, that would be very hard for me.
Yeah.
God didn't equip me for that. But so when you're working in your gift and using your authentic imprint and your personal mission statement, and you're working in that authenticity, you have
That's easy.
all the energy that you need.
I love that. And I think that's what, when we're serving in our purpose, and you have high beliefs, so it's like, man, I got to get that guy out of that drug house. I don't care. I'm not scared. I'm going to go in there. Rand's in the car still, but I'm okay. You know, it's like that speaks it right there. So I love that. As we get ready to close out, Rand, is there anything that's coming up for you that you want to share with the audience about serving or about strengths or about anything that I haven't asked you that you want to make sure you share, even if it's just how to get a hold of you guys to maybe serve somebody that's in the Dallas area? And I know Men of Nehemiah will be spreading its wings in the future, but anything that's coming up for you there?
Yeah, so, as we grow, one of the things that we do is we pair each man up with a mentor. And so as we're looking at almost doubling our capacity of men that we're serving, we need more men to come and mentor our men. So that's an open invitation. We have a Tuesday night worship service. It's a great time to come and see what we're doing. Another thing is for anybody who is struggling with addiction or has a family member that's struggling with addiction, that's why we're here, and we want to help. You don't have to commit to joining the program, but even just coming down and seeing what we're about is a huge first step. And so we're at menofnehemiah.org. Our front desk number is 214-421-6705. Call, get information. We would love to help.
I love that. And I love how y'all bring these two different perspectives of serving and where you've come from. And as you mentioned, Melinda, we've all got somebody in our family with addiction. We've all got somebody around us. And I think being able to know there is a safe place to go, a loving, caring, disciplined place to go in Dallas. And that is a role model that I've never seen anything like. So if you guys aren't in Dallas, you need to come and visit. But if you are, I would love for everybody who's listening to just to seek and find what is their calling. And as Melinda said, you're more energized when you're using your gifts. Yes. And that's the purpose of today's message. So I want to thank you both for all that you're doing. Every day you're changing the lives of families by helping these men transform. You won't see it now, but it's little lights. I always think of a campfire, and you're just lighting little lights that are going to spread throughout the world. So thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing today.
Thank you for having us. Yeah, this is